So it's time to move on to the next resource person, Dr. Vijay Kumar, an assistant professor in English at B.S. Abdul Rahman College of Science and Technology, Chennai. He is the editorial member of English language teaching in 2020. He has completed about certification series, both basic and advanced organization by graduate. In 2018, he got the paper presentation award and the same year he was awarded outstanding content and reviewer. Apart from this, the science corpus and it's Dr. Vijay Kumar to the scenario. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for the introduction. I hope I'm audible to all of you.
Yes, sir, it's audible.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. First of all, I would just like to thank Dr. Joyson for the invitation, and my heartfelt thanks to the organizers of this conference. Coincidentally, I also wanted to deal on MRAD format of writing a research paper, but today I would just consciously skip out those elements discussed by the previous speaker. So I would pigeonhole my talk uh, based on the reviewer's perspective, what the reviewers expect in a research paper, how to find the right journal, what is novelty in a research, and how to publish in high impact factor journals. So let me try to pigeonhole my talk based on these aspects. So before I begin, I just want to raise certain pertinent questions on how to publish in journals with high impact factor. That is not from the writer's perspective, but from the reviewer's perspective. What do the reviewers expect? And why do reviewers usually reject papers? And there is also other questions like, if you take any research journals with high impact factor, predominantly most of the papers are from European countries. Why this bias? Why don't we see Asian publications much? Is there something called the bias? So let's focus on these issues. So before I focus on these issues, let me actually share my slides with you, and walk you through a discussion on these lines. And perhaps for around half an hour, I would present my views, and I would like to take more questions related to publication. From a peer reviewer's perspective, I would just give my inputs because I am a peer reviewer for a couple of Springer journals. So with this kind of brief note, let me share my screen and walk you through the presentation. Okay, so let me actually focus on how to publish your research papers in high impact factor journals, especially the Scopus, the Web of Science, or the SSCI journals. So this is a map of my talk. I'm initially going to focus on something called as the research novelty, at what constitutes novelty in research. So I will just raise these questions. The second question is, excuse me. The second question I wish to raise is where to publish your papers, where to publish, and then what are the prerequisites. And let us focus on the reasons for rejection and the segments. Let me start with the elementary example. I am just showing you a particular research paper here. It may look like a naive elementary example, but let's start our discussion from this example. Let's say your research is on "Are all apples red?" This was a beautiful article written by Cortland. So I would just like to show this article and take, because it's impossible to actually show you the IMA RD format in one page, but this is a classic example. Let's say the research paper is on, or all apples red. Now, if you look at the first part of this, we examines the apples of several colors, almost, most are red, some are not. So this is a kind of an abstract concept to start, where you are asking a pertinent question, that if all apples are red. And in the introduction part, you say that you ask this question, are all apples red? Macintosh 1993 thought so, but G. Smith begs to differ. We hope to resolve this issue. So why do we actually start a research? Only when there are different opinions on the same topic. If there is an universalization of issue, we are definitely not going to talk about that. Because opinions differ, we venture into that research. So just because A said this and B differs from that view, we would like to find if A is right or B is right. And then what is the method that you are using to find if all apples are red? So what do you do? So what did we do? We went to a local grocery store and bought the apples that they had. We brought the apples home and we looked at all the apples. So this is a method. Like, you know, I'm starting with a very elementary example. Maybe I'll move to more professional examples a little later. So how you find out? And the results is we found 4 red apples, 1 green and 2 yellow, which you show diagrammatically in the results. Now, you say in the discussion that the question I raised, that all apples red, is not true, because I observed that there are 2 green apples and 1 yellow apple, and it's true that all apples are not red, and we concur with Smith's findings. So it's a very, very elementary example. Let us take this example on a professional level. Okay, if you take this example at a professional level of what the previous professor dealt with, the IMARD format, the abstract, the introduction, the methods, the results, the discussion, and the conclusion. So there are various elements to this particular research. Now, let me give you a very complex example. An example from an ELT perspective. Now, my research is online teaching going to be better than face-to-face instruction? Let me use the same example and pivot my discussion. So I raise my question here. Is online classroom better than face-to-face classroom? So my abstract will be, there are a lot of previous studies on both face-to-face classroom and online classroom. So an abstract, in my introduction, I would just, let me actually go to that particular slide. Okay. So in my introduction, I will just tell them the problem, the importance of the problem, what is known about the problem, what is unknown about the problem, and the research question. So let me take the introduction and place my discussion. Now, what is my discussion? Or face-to-face classrooms better than online classrooms? So what is the problem? So this is my problem. My problem is I want to find if face-to-face classrooms are better or online classroom is better. So I have a problem. The second part is, what is the importance of my problem? Is my problem worth investigating? Has previous researchers already investigated my problem? It could be anything. Related to pedagogy, related to epistemology, related to ontology, related to science, related to applied science, related to cancer research, or whatever. All research areas, the entire essence of it is in one slide, in a nutshell. So I have chosen what my problem is. So I want to find if online teaching is better than face-to-face teaching. So that is my problem. So what is the importance of the problem? There are a lot of researchers who have researched this topic, yet I find the results unconvincing. So perhaps I just want to find it myself, which is better. So I just want to look at what is known in the field, what is the research that has been carried out earlier by the earlier researchers, and then perhaps I want to just go very deeper and find out what is unknown in the field, what other researchers have not done, and then I will formulate my research question. My research questions will be, now I will frame my research questions. In online instruction, which mode of online instruction is better? Is it the blended mode or is it the flipped mode? So then I will frame my objectives. So revisiting the own example, or all apples red, same way, is online classroom better than face-to-face classroom? So I discuss what's the problem. I will write a rationale on whether this problem is worth investigating, and then I will discuss what is known about the field. Then I will go and explore what is unknown in the field. Then I will write my objectives, and then I will start my research. So this is how I actually begin my research. This one elementary example of beginning a research will move on to the second step. I'm just going to the second step. I'm just pivoting my discussion to my second step. Now I have decided I'm going to research here. But after I decide what I'm going to research, is my idea novel? Is my idea new? Because any idea boils down to novelty. Now, is your research novel? How to find if you are novel? There are 10 ways to find whether your idea is novel. Let me tell you what are the ways. And I want you to ask these questions yourself. Then you will understand, regardless of which stage you are in, whether your work is novel. Because this is a question which is asked in everything, whether you go for a DZ meeting or a Viva Voice, or whether you write a convincing research paper, or your editor wants to make sure that this is a very good paper. The first thing they want to know is, are you carrying out a research which has not been done? Are you doing something very novel? Are you doing something which is worth investigating? So these are some of the things that the reviewer will ask. So I'm going to walk you through certain steps of identifying what is novelty. Now look at this particular slide. Okay, novelty could mean any of these things. Now you could say something that no one has said before. Now, is that possible in your field? Think about it. Then you can write a research paper. For example, I am a student of science, applied sciences. Let's say I do a research on cancer research. Then probably I am dealing with a new type of cancer where there is very little research, very little review, little literature on that. So in applied field, that is possible. So am I going to say something that no one has said before? Probably possible in a scientific field, but definitely not possible in the field of social sciences. So in this particular slide, I am going to tell you how to start your research paper. It is not as elementary as all apples red. That was an elementary example I gave to show you about a research question. But now I am moving to a professional example to drive home the point. If you can write something novel. So it's possible for a life sciences researcher or a cancer research to say something, to do something that has not been done before. So life sciences students, applied sciences research can of course do something that has not been done before. And if you justify that, then your work indeed is a niche work that merits deeper investigation. You have a lot of scope in publishing in journals, and your research will have global attention. Okay, let us say that is one element of novelty. But I am not a life science researcher. But how do I achieve novelty? How do I do something that nobody has done before? Second thing to do that is, you can take an empirical work that has not been done before. What is the meaning of empirical work? Empirical work refers to, let's say, you try a new drug in two patients, drug A, drug B, and you come out with a new combination and see which works better. You test both under the lab conditions, laboratory conditions, and this is possible even in technology oriented research. I work on two methodologies, method A, method B for teaching. Method A online, method B flipped. I have one group of learners who are online learners. I have one group of learners who have offline learners. I compare both the groups. I conduct rigorous statistical analysis. This is empirical research. Or I can do that even in literature. I can take two authors, do a comparative study, and make it very empirical. So social sciences researchers can achieve novelty in this way. Okay, let us say you cannot achieve novelty in this way. What are the other ways you can achieve novelty? Let us say that your research is not in any of these categories. But what you can do is, you can synthesize ideas from many fields. For example, we were talking about reviews that what do we call it, as a cross-disciplinary, multidisciplinary, or sister-disciplinary research. For example, I am a student of literature, but if I use linguistic theories in the field of literature, I can go for sister-disciplinary research. If I am using a psychological theory to study my author, then I can go for an interdisciplinary research. Or if I am using a psychoanalytic or a psychological theory from the field of medical humanities to study my work, then I can do something different at the theory level. So am I making myself clear on the different ways of achieving novelty in your research? Shall I progress? Because I just want your affirmation. It shouldn't be a kind of bombarding information, because I know this is just the fag end of the day for you. I will can I just proceed and talk to you about different ways of achieving novelty in your research?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, because I feel that so many aspects have been dealt with. I am very consciously leaving out the IMAD format or whatever has been discussed earlier, and I am starting with a starting point on how to find your niche, how to bring novelty, because all research ultimately boils down to one novel idea. So I think if I can spend half an hour to create a spark on how a researcher can achieve novelty, then the purpose of my very talk can achieve momentum, or it can gain that leverage to researchers. So I would actually kind of pivot my talk only on achieving novelty. I feel Uma Shankar has raised her hand. Uh, may I know why? There is a hand raised by Uma. May I know why? Okay. Let me just look at other ways of achieving novelty. Like the fourth way of achieving novelty in your research. But there is only one take-home message. After my half an hour talk, you should reflect on, out of the points I gave, what is the best way that you can achieve novelty in your research. Probably if you are a life science researcher, you can do something you have not done before. Or if you are a technology based researcher, you can do empirical work. If you are a literary researcher, you can synthesize ideas from different fields, or do cross disciplinary, multidisciplinary, or transdisciplinary research. For example, a student of literature, probably if they are working on a literary field, they can choose theories from the field of linguistics. They can choose theories from the field of medical humanities. They can choose theories from the field of digital humanities. They can choose theories from different unexpected spectrums and apply it in their field. And if you do that, there is a lot of scope for publishing, because I am a reviewer myself. And if I come across some theories that researchers kind of apply it again and again, they say the novelty is a researcher in the European continent has applied this particular theory. This has not been done in the Indian context. So I am choosing this theory in the Indian context and I am applying it. I mean, you can't justify that as novelty. You are actually kind of reinventing the wheel. You are only saying, okay, it was done in that country, but it is not done in my country, so I am using it. So that is not a justification, and it is sure shot the reviewer is going to actually reject your paper. I mean, that work is not novel. So you should always do something unexpected in terms of clubbing theories, scientific theories. So that is the actually the third way to achieve novelty. Can you achieve novelty? Is it possible? It is possible in my field. I am a technology oriented researcher. I use theories from different fields, like the field of psychology, like the field of linguistics. I don't know if it is possible in your field. I'm sure that it is possible in more fields. Okay. The fourth way to achieve novelty is you can make a new interpretation to somebody else's material. Like, let us say that a particular literary researcher, student of literature, is reading the works of, Thomas Hardy or Robert Frost or any particular work. Different people have interpreted in different ways using different theories. But do you see something different, something that others have not seen? Do you look at the hidden layers of meaning that is camouflaged in the text and unlayer the multiple layers of meaning through your own critical theories or the critical lens? So can you come out with the new interpretations of an old work that others have not interpreted? So these studies are called as pure interpretive studies. Okay, there are different researchers here, or any of the researchers here, interpretive researchers, comparative researchers, linguistic researchers. But I think most of the researchers here are scientific researchers. So that is called as the fourth way of achieving novelty, by doing a kind of an interpretive research or interpretation research. Okay. Now, the fifth way to achieve novelty, you can do something in this country that nobody has done elsewhere. Now, how can we do that? For example, let me go to the old example, or all apples red. I mean, it's a very novel, it's a very elementary example I wanted to start with. And then I gave you my example on two methods, which method works better. Now, for example, in a lot of European countries, there's so much of MOOC based education, like, online platforms, different kinds of models. Some countries people have used blended models. In some countries, people have used flipped models. And in some places, people have used an holistic model. But if you take the best principles from every country, and if you can prepare your own matrix based on the best principles and apply those best principles and design your own model, then you can claim that you are actually synthesizing the ideas from your field, from different countries, from different researchers, designing your own matrix, designing your own model. Then you can really achieve great novelty in your research. So this is called as synthetic research, or synthesizing ideas from different fields, because ideas always come from elsewhere. You can't claim that any idea is a new idea. Idea is already there. Perhaps you are giving a different tinge to the old idea. It's like an a old wine in a new bottle, but are you adding a new flavor to it? That is the bottom line for the literature researcher. So this is the fifth way of achieving novelty. something that you could do. So we discussed so far 5 ways of achieving novelty. I think I can stop my argument by discussing about other different ways of achieving novelty if I have time. Shall I ask the organizer, shall I proceed and talk to you about how a researcher can achieve novelty through the other ways? Can I proceed? Can I just walk you through the other ways of achieving novelty in your research? Am I audible? Hello?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Now,
Yes, sir.
what I'm asking is, I know it's the
Yes,
fag
sir.
end of the day. I need to know the kind of a time frame. Is it okay if I talk to you about the other ways of achieving novelty in research? Maybe another 5 to 10 minutes? Okay, thank you. Thank you. I mean, this is okay for the admin. I don't know if it's okay for the researchers, but however, I will make my point. I'm just making only one point today. All right. See, the other ways of achieving novelty is you can work across disciplines using different methodologies. This is called as methodological research. For example, there are different kinds of research designs. The mixed methods research, the qualitative research, the quantitative research. But the one different way of achieving novelty is to use unexpected research designs. For example, if a literary researcher is using a scientific research design, it is an unexpected research design. So this is trying different methodologies is one way of achieving novelty. Okay, perhaps the other ways of achieving novelty is you can look at your research in these different ways. You can look at a particular topic that other people in your discipline has not looked at. For example, let me just give you one more example, and kind of I think I would just give you some inputs for 5 minutes more, because I feel that I am a little running out of time. I could just find that from the audience responses, but I would just like to take a lot of questions if you have on what constitutes novelty or any aspect of research from the reviewer's perspective. So I would just sum up, because I could very much understand that the energy level is fizzing out by the end of the day. So far I have been talking to you on the ways of achieving novelty, but I think I should stop here and take questions from you if you have any questions. I think I will stop here. I think I today spoke only to you about achieving novelty in your work, because it's all about time frame. Fag end of the day, last half an hour, you can't do much. So I think I'm just running out of time. I'll take your questions. If you have any or any other aspects from a peer reviewer's perspective or anything related to research, I am open for questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your wonderful talk.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you
So,
for patiently listening to me. I know that it's pretty challenging to listen at the fag end of the day. I don't know if I have done enough justice to it, because there was very little time and I could only focus on one aspect of novelty in your research. Anyway, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
okay, thank you, sir. So, we winding up today's section. Thank you so much, each of you, for sparing your valuable time to be here with us. Thank you so much.